Hey everyone, we are back with another episode of With Love Solé. And the topic today is going to be about abundance. I think that this is a super kind of pertinent topic on the planet right now. And a lot of us are reworking what abundance really is. And we are reclaiming our ability to create a reality that feels abundant to us. I think there's probably one main thing that you think of that we all think of when we think about abundance and living an abundant life, and that is money. And on the one hand, 1000%, I'm not the type of person to bypass the fact that money is absolutely essential and having more of it makes life much easier. And that's a truth while still operating in this matrix reality. And I think there's this shift happening on the planet where we are reclaiming what abundance is. That abundance is not only money, that it is inclusive of so much more than money. And that if we widen and expand how we're understanding abundance, it actually brings a sense of relief because you start to see how abundant you already are, while it not being like a certain value in your bank account. Abundance is similarly to oneness, like the truest reality, like this world, this reality, this universe that has what, 8 trillion galaxies or something absolutely ridiculous. Like abundance is what it is. It is one of the core truths of this reality. And I think one of the sort of masterful ways that the matrix has kept us out of our power is to separate us from that abundant truth. And so what many of us are doing is reclaiming abundance in our lives and in our realities in ways that might not look exactly in the framework of what the matrix has taught us that abundance is, which is money. Now, again, I want to reiterate because, if you're working your creation codes and your abundance codes, like obviously having money and having the flexibility that money affords you is amazing. And it's super helpful. And I definitely think that still, according to this reality, like money is an absolute pillar towards feeling the abundance of your reality. And I think there's a lot of us who have been assigned to the role of expanding and stretching out what abundance truly is. Because if you think about abundance, abundance is time freedom. That is something that I have managed in my reality for like most of my life. Frankly, I feel super blessed by that. My days are completely up to me. I live a life totally according to my own terms. I do whatever I want, and let's be clear here, like I'm someone who chooses sometimes the challenge or the difficulty because I know the value that brings. So whatever I want does not mean that I like float along in my days and I have no issues, no suffering, no pain, no problems. Like, of course, we live in a reality where those are some of our best teachers. So I don't shy from that, like that's even what working out is for me. And that is like the other things that I choose to do that are somewhat strenuous that keep me kind of on my growth edge. And it's still an act of choosing on my part. Everything in my reality is an act of choosing. My time is completely my own. And to me, that is a massive part of how I define abundance. And I think a lot of people think that you must have a certain, say, amount of money in your bank account in order to afford time freedom. And it's simply not true. And I'm telling you that here firsthand experience. Like, I still don't have like the number in my bank account that I personally would like to have and that I'm actively manifesting and materializing. And that has not kept me from having complete time freedom, traveling the world, living life on my terms. And so I say that to say, as an example of how we're kind of breaking apart abundance being only about money, because I think people think, well, if I have this much money, then I can have complete time freedom. I can travel the world. I can do whatever I want whenever I want to do it. And it is not only money that affords you that reality. So what we do here and what we're working is ultimately law of assumption. And law of assumption is that when you can feel the vibration and the experience within your body and within your being of your desired reality, then you're giving the universe no choice but to materialize it into your reality. But what you may find in doing that is that it materializes, say, abundance in ways that's not exactly the one for one of like a dollar amount. Sometimes abundance is a free trip. Sometimes abundance is somebody gifting you airplane miles so you can do what you want to do, right? Sometimes abundance is just somehow a free day where you can have a day to yourself. Like, it's not always about the dollar amount. And I think a lot of times, even the kind of girlies who are like super into law of assumption these days, I mean, I follow them, I rock with them heavy. And even in my work with law of assumption, I'm still like, one of my affirmations is a particular dollar amount that I would like to have in my bank account. But what I always am checking and correcting myself on is what do I think that number is going to afford me? And so when you're thinking about law of assumption, what you're doing is you're scripting out the reality that you desire, you're affirming it as if it already exists. And then you affirm it in your vibration, in your body, and in your energy. So you're just experiencing that reality as if it already exists now. That's why they say one of the big ways of doing that is gratitude, because if you're sort of like, thank you, I'm so thankful for this reality that hasn't quite happened yet, then the universe is like, oh, okay, boom, she must have it because she's already thankful for it. So we're going to give that to her. And it works that way. It's like you have to believe it, and then the universe will show you proof. And we think like, show me the proof and then I'll believe it. But you're working against yourself, and you're working against the law of assumption by needing the physical and material proof before you can start to believe it. So the practice of law of assumption, like I said, is scripting things out. I mean, literally scripting, writing it out, and then affirming it, stating it over and over and over and over again until it feels good in your body, and then actually experiencing it in your body. So if it is, say, a dollar amount, or if it is that you want to be able to travel more, or whatever other things that you might be kind of widening the experience of abundance around, then you imagine your reality in that way. You picture yourself taking that trip, or you imagine mostly what that dollar amount would afford you and what you would feel. If it's maybe freedom, if it's feeling secure, if it's being able to afford the lifestyle that you desire, if it's having a nicer place or a nicer car, like ask yourself what's underneath the dollar amount that you're desiring, and then give yourself that experience right now. Close your eyes and visualize. This is positive visualization. It's all a part of law of assumption. Visualize the reality that you believe that that's going to afford you. Having your desired car in the lot, like living in a place that you want to live, being able to travel whenever you want to travel, like whatever it is. Because we money is not the end goal. It's the means to getting what you think that you want. And so the practice is to give yourself what you think that you want now in your vibrational experience. So the universe is like, oh, okay, she has that. So we're going to give that to her, and we're going to let her reality reflect that. That's what law of assumption is all about. It's experiencing it in your vibration, and then letting your vibration tell the universe that this is already true for you, and therefore the universe is going to bring it to you. And the other piece of it, and so we're thinking about specifically abundance. I feel like a lot of people, if you're going to do that kind of practice, it probably has to do with money, or at least abundance, or having your desires met, which is oftentimes something that money can bring you, right? But that's why it's so important to start to break off from money being the only way. Because say you're like, your one of your desires is this trip you want to take. You never know how it's going to come in. You never know how it's going to come in. Sometimes it is the money, and you got the money and it's one for one, boom. That's definitely one possible timeline. And it's also maybe somebody else is traveling, so there's a house open for you for free for 2 weeks in the exact place you want to stay. Or like I said, somebody gifting you miles. Like there's so many possible timelines and how this thing can come in. The other piece of it is non-attachment to the outcome, because sometimes we think it must come this way, and it ends up coming from over here, and you're like, your desire is still met, but it wasn't through the means that you thought it was going to come through. So you have to surrender to just that deep faith and trusting in whatever it is that you're calling in. So that's kind of one leg of it. The other leg of it is that, I think the shift on the planet right now is slowly, maybe this is my magical thinking, although ChatGPT confirmed this, that we're breaking apart as money being like what decides your value. And I think that's really important, because I think so far, money being the only thing that decides what a high value person is has been extremely problematic, because the people with the most money on the planet are not always the best people. Let's be totally real. And when the high vibrational people and the people who do the work and who are, creating via the laws of the universe start having the money, we'll live in a totally different reality, because it is also true that money calls the shots and money makes decisions for now, right? And so what has been confirmed and what I intuitively have felt is like we're starting to break off from money being God and money being king. It's a very matrix reality that that's the case, which is why I'm inviting you. And I think a lot of us have been assigned to start to widen what abundance is. Because again, yes, a number in your bank account helps. And if you just ask yourself, well, what do I think it's going to help? Well, it's going to give me the freedom to do what I want to do. I'm not going to have to worry. It's everybody's favorite one, right? I'm not going to have to stress and worry. which you don't have to do, but cool. But I get it because it's, I'm laughing, but it's absolutely true that when you have 25 cents in your bank account, it invites a certain contraction into your body that is super uncomfortable and very frustrating, especially when you have done the work and you know your inherent value and you feel like your monetary value is not reflecting your inherent value. And that's okay. It's very fair to feel frustrated by that. I certainly have in my journey as well. So I get that. But what we're starting to destabilize money as being the only way, because the other thing about abundance is there's so many tiers to abundance that just make you light up and feel that like absolute sense of safety and liberation and freedom, power. Like there's so many levels to abundance that is much more than just money. There is time freedom. Again, I think that's the one for one that most people decide money is going to give them, which again doesn't have to be that way. So there's time freedom. There's even just health. Like being healthy is so abundant, like having a healthy body that you just feel good in your body. Like that's something that money can't even pay for because you do have to do the work to just feel good in your body. I think that is the true happiness that most people are chasing is feeling good. Because when you feel good, baby, the whole world changes, literally. You go out and everybody feels it. They feel your feel good and they're like, I want someone to feel good. Like, what is this about? And that's what like having a high vibration is all about is feeling good. And when you feel good, you don't worry quite as much. You don't stress quite as much. It's almost like you've attained a certain level of what you think that you desire because you can feel it in your body. You wake up and you're just like ready to go, baby. Like it's the best. So health is another one, I mean, there's so many multiple pillars of abundance. Another one is just community. And that's something for me that has really come online recently is like my soul family. Cause, really up until very recently, I've been very much a lone wolf and it's worked for me. It's been fine. It's afforded me to be able to travel and get up and go and move at the drop of a dime and not feel attachment to any particular thing. But as many of you probably know, the lone wolf journey kind of gets lonely at times, or it just feels like you feel sort of misunderstood and nobody really sees you. And it's hard to like anchor in your value when you're like, why am I the only one here? And it takes a test of faith. And I think there's a reason many of us have the lone wolf season, at least, because it really tests you. Do you still believe when you're the only one that stands on your ground? Do you still believe when you're the only one who understands the world like you do and who sees the world like you do and has the vision that you have? Do you still believe? And so I think there's a solidifying of your vision that happens in the lone wolf season that is truly necessary. But it doesn't have to be like that forever. And I'm truly, literally just learning this. I'm learning the value of having a soul family and people who I feel like sincerely see me, which makes me feel even bigger and better than ever. And who I see and who I see my truths reflected in and who believe like I believe and see the world like I see it and move like I move. Like it's been very, very affirming and beautiful for me. And it has really expanded and widened what I think of as abundance. So, community, that's another kind of tier of abundance. And there's more and more and more. I mean, as you go along, you'll find like abundance is not just one thing. And it hits all of the points that you think money is going to give you. It is that security, it's stability, it's being seen, it's freedom, it's all the things that you think that a certain number in your bank account is going to give you. And again, I'm never going to knock money. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be trying to get that. In fact, I think I worked against myself for a very long time because my story was like, I don't really need money like that. I'm going to be good. And on the one hand, that was true. That's what afforded me being free and traveling the world. Like it was not because I had tons of money to do that. It was just because I believed wholeheartedly that I didn't need money to do it. And that worked out for me. But it also meant, I always had like maybe just a little bit more than enough money. And that worked. And it really did for most of my 20s and for the vision I had in my 20s and how I was moving, it did work. And that was fine. But, I didn't have like the nicest things and that never mattered to me. So it wasn't even something I thought about until recently. I realized, well, maybe I should have been asking for more. Maybe I should have been affirming more in my spirit or saying I at least want my reality to reflect what I know, the value that I bring vibrationally. And that shifted a lot for me because it made me like, put a little bit more emphasis on money where I had not before. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think as the paradigm shifts and currency shifts and what we value shifts, and as we move into this new paradigm, those of us who feel like I do, we are leading the way for abundance to be more than just money. And money being what it's supposed to be, which is a currency or a means to an end, and not God, and not king, and not just what decides your value, because it doesn't. It doesn't decide your value. Just because you have trillions of dollars in your bank account doesn't mean you're, vibrationally a trillionaire. It probably means you've sold your soul, to be honest, in this reality. Like the vast majority of people who have the money have sold out to at least some fragment of their soul to get there, or they've stepped on other people's necks or squandered other people or whatever to get where they are. And that's not knocking anybody. It's just speaking the reality of those who have the money right now, the elites, if you will, who like happen to also mostly be the demons of the earth plane, doing very weird things that we're still like realizing. That's who runs the matrix, and that's who low key runs the world. And it is because they have money that they can do that. But now insert crypto, insert these other forms of money, insert people starting to not, value money in the same way. The tides are turning. And I think in the near future, they're going to turn in a massive way. And I think those of us who have grounded in our ability to get our needs met by way of the laws of the universe are not going to be tripped out when money shifts and things destabilize and things collapse and the centralized banking systems and all those kinds of things like are on, their last legs. We're not worried about it. Because if you really believe in the law of the universe, which I mean, to me, it's not something you believe in, it just is. So we're all working these codes all the time. Think about that. We're all affirming and scripting our reality and existing in the vibration that we exist in, and therefore creating the reality that we live in, whether we're aware of it or not. So what we're doing, the mastership, is to be an active and a conscious creator of your reality and to be so aware of the thoughts that you're thinking and the vibration that you're existing in, that you don't let yourself slip by you in a thought or in a vibration that you don't want to manifest and create, so that you're consciously creating from a space of empowerment and a decision-making space. And you're collapsing those old stories that tell you you're disempowered or you don't have it or you're X, Y, and Z that doesn't fit who you actually are. And you're staying in alignment and in congruency energetically and vibrationally with who you actually are. That is abundance. Knowing who you are is abundance. It's so abundant. It's like you're just out here, just the king and queen and god and goddess of your reality. Because on some level, we are that. We are that. And we're creating with a much higher reality. We're creating with the far more infinite intelligence that we can even understand or study or begin to, realize. And that's where the faith comes in. And that's where the trusting comes in. And the knowing comes in. And the willingness to feel it before it becomes real. And afford yourself the reality that you desire energetically and vibrationally: freedom, happiness, feeling good, doing what you want, getting to hop a plane tomorrow if you need to do that. Whatever it is, feel it in your body. Give yourself that experience now. And again, sometimes it's even like, well, you think it must be that you need to take a trip. And then it actually materializes over here as something else, but it is the match to the vibration that you wanted. So again, non-attachment to the outcome is big here, because you're going to get what your vibration is sending out, even if it's not the exact thing that you think that you're manifesting, because you're going to get what's in alignment with your highest timeline. And so you're shifting from attachment to this being the thing into trusting that whatever the thing is that's going to afford you this experience is going to come in. As soon as you can clear the resistance, and as soon as you can clear your contraction around it, whatever it is, it's wanting to get to you just as quickly as you're available to it arriving. So I wanted to give us that today, because I think this is going to kind of start a conversation that we have around what abundance is, and us reclaiming our power on the planet, that money is not deciding our value. And that having money is wonderful and great. And let us all affirm and script that reality as well. Because I think, again, when we have the money, we'll live in a much different place. And nothing wrong with that. And it does not determine your worth. It does not determine your value. Your vibration, what you bring to the world, the light that you share, that's more an appropriate measure of what you bring to the world and who you actually are and the value that you exhibit and give to others and bring to others. Much better than the number in a bank account. So that's what I've got for today. It's been really present in my spirit. It's been something I've been actively working on. And again, a big piece of it is releasing resistance, because you might sit into the vibration and then you're like, oh, there's no way I could have a Porsche in the driveway. Your limiting beliefs pop in and you just laugh at them and let them go and come back to visualizing the Porsche in the driveway, or there's no way I could make $20,000 a month. Your limiting belief pops in, you laugh at it, let it go and rewrite your subconscious programming that says you absolutely could have a portion of the driveway. You absolutely can make $20,000 a month. You absolutely can have time freedom. You absolutely can live life on your terms. Okay. All right, guys, that's what I got. Love y'all. Hope you have the best day. See you next week.